What did your stupid neighbor do that made you angry? When my wife Amy and I moved into our new house on Maple Street, we thought we'd finally found our perfect quiet neighborhood. That lasted exactly 3 weeks until Mark moved in next door. Mark was one of those guys who thought he was Bob the Builder, but had the skills of a 5-year-old with power tools. The first red flag was when he introduced himself by saying he was going to upgrade this whole block with some serious man projects. The disaster started on a Tuesday night. Mark decided he wanted to build a backyard fire pit because apparently regular barbecues weren't manly enough. Did he get permits? Nope. Did he check if there were fire restrictions in our area? Not a chance. He just stacked some random bricks he found at a construction site into a wobbly circle and called it good. I watched him through my kitchen window, shaking my head as he poured lighter fluid all over everything like he was trying to launch a rocket. My wife Amy said I was being paranoid, but something about the way those bricks were leaning made my stomach turn. That Friday night around 11, I woke up to the smell of smoke. At first I thought maybe someone was having a late barbecue, but then I looked out our bedroom window and saw orange flames shooting up over Mark's fence. These weren't normal campfire flames. These were angry, reaching for the sky flames. I threw on some pants and ran outside. What I saw made my blood boil. Mark was standing next to his death trap fire pit, tossing cardboard boxes, oily shop rags, and plastic water bottles into the fire like it was a garbage incinerator. The flames were at least 6 feet high, licking the branches of the old oak tree that hung over both our yards. I yelled over the fence, "Mark, you're going to burn the whole neighborhood down!" He looked up at me with this stupid grin, clearly drunk, and laughed. "Relax, Jake. I'm basically a firefighter at heart. I got this under control." Under control? The wind was picking up and I could see embers flying around like angry fireflies. Some of them were landing on my wooden deck. I ran back inside, grabbed my garden hose, and started spraying down everything in my yard. Mark was too busy filming the fire on his phone, probably for some Instagram story about his epic bonfire night, to notice that embers were now landing in the dried leaves piled up next to his shed. His shed that I knew was packed with paint cans and gasoline for his lawnmower. Within minutes, those leaves caught fire. I watched the flames crawl toward his shed and knew we were about to have a real problem. Mark finally noticed and just stood there, frozen like a deer in headlights, watching his backyard turn into a mini apocalypse. I didn't even think. I jumped our fence with my hose still running and started spraying everything I could reach. Mark snapped out of his trance and started panicking, running around in circles yelling, "Oh no, oh no, oh no," like that was going to help anything. Amy had already called 911 from inside our house. Smart woman. The fire department showed up just as the flames reached the side of Mark's shed. Half the building was already charred black, and the fence between our yards looked like something out of a war movie. The fire chief walked over to Mark after they got everything under control and said, "Son, if your neighbor hadn't acted when he did, this fire would have reached both houses in less than 10 minutes. You're lucky nobody got hurt." Instead of saying thank you or sorry or literally anything normal, Mark got defensive. He crossed his arms and said, "You didn't have to call the fire department. I had everything under control. This was just a little setback." I stared at him, covered in ash and sweat from trying to save his stupid life, and said, "No, Mark, you didn't have anything under control. You almost killed us." The firefighters made him dismantle his brick pile right there on the spot. They also gave him a hefty fine and a lecture about fire safety that lasted 20 minutes. I thought maybe that would be the end of it. 2 weeks later, Mark had the nerve to put flyers in everyone's mailboxes, inviting the whole block to Bonfire Night Round 2 at his place. The flyer even had a little drawing of flames and said, "Bring marshmallows." Nobody showed up, not a single person. Mrs. Wilson from across the street later told me she thought Mark was joking. I finally had enough and filed a formal complaint with our homeowners association. They forced Mark to remove all fire-related equipment from his yard and banned him from any open flames on his property. He spent the next month giving me dirty looks every time we crossed paths, but honestly, I sleep better knowing he can't accidentally burn down the neighborhood.